brilliant, but no less fundamental co-director, Newman. Give Newman a hand.
Newman!
What he's done and all he will continue to do.
I just went down, we had come up a couple months ago to walk around Martin's Ferry, and I thought the old WPA pole was the pole this side of town, and then this morning when I got here we went down to see the actual old WPA pole, so I wanted to read that poem. The old WPA swimming pool in Martin's Ferry, Ohio. I am almost afraid to write down this thing I must have been, say, 7 years old. That afternoon, the families of the WPA had come out to have a good time celebrating a long gouge in the ground that the fierce husbands had filled with concrete. We knew even then the Ohio River was dying. Most of the good men who lived along that shore wanted to be in love and give good love to beautiful women who weren't pretty, and to small children like me who wondered, what the hell is this? When people don't have quite enough to eat in August, in the river that is supposed to be some holiness starts dying. They swim in the earth. Uncle Sherman, Uncle Willie, Uncle Emerson, and my father helped dig that hole in the ground. I'd seen by that time 2 or 3 holes in the ground, and you knew what they were. But this one was not the usual cheap economics. It was not the solitary scar on a poor man's face, that respectable hole in the ground you used to be able to buy after you died for $75 in your wage, taxed for 6 months by the Heslop brothers. Dear God. No. This hole was filled with water, and suddenly I flung myself into the water. All I had on was a jockstrap my brother stole from a miserable football team. Oh, never mind. Jesus Christ. My father and my uncles dug a hole in the ground. No grave for once. It's going to be hard for you to believe. When I rose from that water, a little girl who belonged to somebody else, a face thin and haunted, appeared over my left shoulder and whispered, "Take care now. Be patient and live. I have loved you all this time and didn't even know I am alive."
Yeah. What a great poem. Okay, who else? Anybody want to read next?
I'll read one.
I think Keith Rhodes might want to read it.
I don't know. I don't think you can hear me.
Keith Rhodes. He's the mystery man. He's
More, we have more.
Joanne has one.
Okay.
Go on.
Well, he's going.
plenty of time for it.
I haven't seen my friends here for 40 years, so, sorry. I haven't seen my friends here for 40 years, so we got a phone call the other day and they said they were doing this, and then Eric in the corner said, "And you son of a bitch, you're going to read this poem." So I, the son of a bitch, am going to read this poem. The Flying Eagles of Troop 62. Ralph Neal was the scoutmaster. He was still a young man. He liked us. I have no doubt he knew perfectly well we were each of us masturbating unhappily in secret caves and shores. Soul of patience. He waited while we smirked behind each other's backs, mocking and parroting the scout law, trying to imitate the oratorical rotundities of Winston Churchill in a southern Ohio accent. A scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, depraved, clean, and let your ass. Ralph Neal knew all about the pain of the aching stones in our 12-year-old groins, the lava swollen halfway between our peckers and our nuts that were still green and sour as half-ripe apples 2 full months before the football season began. Socrates loved his friend the traitor Alcibiades for his beauty and for what he might become. I think Ralph Neal loved us for our scrawniness, our acne, our fear, but mostly for his knowledge of what would probably become of us. He was not a fool. He knew he would never himself get out of that slime hole of a river valley, and maybe he didn't want to. The Vendetas illustrate the most sublime of ethical ideals by describing a saint who, having endured through 1,000 lives every half-assed mistake and unendurable suffering possible to humanity from birth to death, refused at the last moment to enter nirvana because he realized his scruffy dog, suppurating at the nostrils and half mad with rabies, could not accompany him into perfect peace. Some of us wanted to get out, and some of us wanted to and didn't. The last I heard, Dickie Bett, a 3-time loser at housebreaking, was doing life at the state pen in Columbus. The last I heard, Dale Headley was driving one of those milk trucks where the driver has to stand up all day and rattle his spine over the jagged street bricks. The last I heard from my brother-in-law, Hub Snodgrass, was still dragging himself home every evening down by the river to shine, shower, shave, and spend a good hour still trying to scrape the Laughlin steel dust out of his pale skin. He never tanned much. He just burned or stayed out of the river. The last I heard, Mike Cautelos was making book in Wheeling. I have never gone back there down home to see Ralph Neal. My portrait hangs on one of the walls in the Martins Ferry Public Library. Ralph Neal would think I've become something, and no doubt I have, though I don't know just what. Scribbling my name in books. Christ have mercy on me alive. And after I'm dead, as Pietro Aretino of Florence requested of the priest after he had received extreme unction on his deathbed, now that I've been oiled, keep me from the rats. When I think of Ralph Neal's name, I feel some kind of ice breaking open in me. I feel a garfish escaping into a hill spring where the crawdads burrow down to the pure bottom in hot weather to get the cool. I feel a rush of long fondness for that good man, Ralph Neal, that good man who knew us dreadful and utterly vulnerable little bastards better than we knew ourselves, who took care of us better than we took care of ourselves, and who loved us, I reckon, because he knew damned well what would become of most of us, and it sure did, and he knew it, and he loved us anyway. The very name of America often makes me sick, and yet Ralph Neal was an American. This country is enough to drive you crazy.
Time for one more?
Please do.
This is a poem that I read many years ago at the Grand Valley, Michigan Poetry Conference that Jim Wright was at. And he and Galway Cannell had a session where you were to read something by somebody else. And so I read this one by Jim Wright. It's called To the Creature of the Creation. It's in the book that supposedly people don't like by Wright, Two Citizens. I love it though. To the creature of the creation. Lonely as my desire is, I have no daughter. I will not die by fire. I shall die by water. Water is fire. The wand, somebody wandering near, limping to understand if only he somewhere cannot do without. Without the moon and me, and who is she? This poem frightens me so secretly, so much. It makes me hard to touch your body's secret places. We are each other's faces. No, I ain't much. The one tongue I can write in is my Ohioan. There most people are poor. I thought I could not stand it to go home anymore, yet I go home every year to calm down my wild mother and talk long with my brother. What have I got to do? The sky is shattering. The plain sky grows so blue. Someday I have to die, as everyone must do. Alone, 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 peaceful as peaceful stone. You are the earth's body. I will die on the wing. To me, you are everything that matters, chickadee. You live so much in me. Chickadees sing in the snow. I will die on the wing. I love you so.
Thanks for organizing this. This is so great. I'm so happy. Inscription for the tank. My life was never so precious to me as now. I gape unbelieving at those 2 lines of my words caught and frisked naked. If they loom secret and dim on the wall of the drunk tank, scraped there by a raw fingernail in the trickling crusts of gray mold, surely the plainest thug who read them would cluck with the ancient pity. Men have a right to thank God for their loneliness. The walls are hysterical with their dank messages. But the last hophead is gone with the quick of his name bleeding away down a new wall blank as his nails. I wish I had walked outside to wade in the sea, drowsing and soothed. I wish I had copied some words from Isaiah, Kabir, Ansari, oh Whitman, oh anyone. But I wrote down mine, and now I must read them forever, even when the wings and my shoulders cringe up at the cold's fangs as now. Of all my lives, the one most secret to me, folded deep in a book never written, locked up in a dream of a still place I have blurted out. I have heard weeping in secret and quick nails broken. Let the dead pray for their own dead. What is their pity to me?
Anybody interested?
I'll go if nobody.
All right.
Okay. Just, I have a short one that I love. Beginning. The moon drops 1 or 2 feathers into the field. The dark wheat listens. Be still. Now. There they are, the moon's young, trying their wings. Between trees, a slender woman lifts up the lovely shadow of her face. And now she steps into the air. Now she is gone wholly into the air. I stand alone by an elder tree. I do not dare breathe or move. I listen. The wheat leans back towards its own darkness, and I lean toward mine. This is one of my favorites, not my favorite, but some of them. There are, as you can see, many. Lightning bugs asleep in the afternoon. These long, suffering, and affectionate shadows, these fluttering jewels, are trying to get some sleep in a dry shade beneath the cement joists of the railroad trestle. I did not climb up here to find them. It was only my ordinary solitude I was following up here this afternoon. Last evening, I sat here with a girl. It was a dangerous place to be a girl and young. But she simply folded her silent skirt over bare knees, printed with the flowered cotton of a meal sack her mother had stitched for her. Neither of us said anything to speak of. These affectionate, these fluttering bodies signaled to one another under the bridge, while the B&O 40 and 8s rattled away. Now ordinary and alone in the afternoon, I find this little circle of insects, common as soot, clustering on dim stone, together with their warm scents, secrets. I think I am going to leave them folded and sleeping in their slight gray wings. I think I am going to climb back down and open my eyes and shine.
Okay. All right.
All right. I have a lot of favorites, so I just chose one of them. In response to a rumor that the oldest whorehouse in Wheeling, West Virginia has been condemned, I will grieve alone as I strolled alone. Years ago, down along the Ohio shore, I hid in the hobo jungle weeds, upstream from the sewer main, pondering, gazing. I saw downriver at 23rd and Water Street by the Vinegar Works, the doors open in early evening. Swinging their purses, the women poured down the long street to the river and in to the river. I do not know how it was they could drown every evening. What time near dawn did they climb up the other shore, drying their wings? For the river at Wheeling, West Virginia, has only two shores, the one in hell, the other in Bridgeport, Ohio, and nobody would commit suicide only to find beyond death Bridgeport, Ohio.
We meant to read that poem when we were down by the river, but we forgot. Anybody else would like to read it? Okay, Charlene.
I've changed my mind many times. But I'm going to read St. Judas because Wright is so lyrical and down to earth with his language that really, maybe I'm a little slow on the uptake, but it took me a couple readings of the poem years ago to say, wait a minute, this is a highly formal poem. It's a sonnet, it rhymes, it's an Italian sonnet, etc. St. Judas. When I went out to kill myself, I caught a pack of hoodlums beating up a man. Running to spare his suffering, I forgot my name, my number, how my day began, how soldiers milled around the garden stone and sang amusing songs, how all that day their javelins measured crowds, how I alone bargained the proper coins and slipped away. Banished from heaven, I found the victim beaten, stripped, kneed, and left to cry. Dropping my rope aside, I ran, ignored the uniforms, Then I remembered bread my flesh had eaten, the kiss that ate my flesh. Flayed without hope, I held the man for nothing in my arms. And I hope it's okay if I read. James Wright didn't just write poems. He didn't just make poems. He also made a poet, Franz. And this is just a short one, a rather surprising one considering the kind of angst and grief of the book. The beautiful angst and grief, I should say. Auto lullaby. Think of a sheep knitting a sweater. Think of your life getting better and better. Think of your cat asleep in a tree. Think of that spot where you once skinned your knee. Think of a bird that stands in your palm. Try to remember the 21st Psalm. Think of a big pink horse galloping south. Think of a fly and close your mouth. If you feel thirsty, then drink from your cup. The birds will keep singing until they wake up.
Bob.
It's Bob.
Bob.
Just don't call him Lynn for Yeah, don't wear it out. One of my favorites, which, by the way, Wright provides the note for. This is about Carpenter, a West Point general who called for his own troops to be napalmed rather than have them surrender. General Westmoreland called him, quote, hero, and made him his aide, and President Johnson awarded him a Silver Star for courage. So this is kind of a Vietnam poem. A Mad Fight Song for William S. Carpenter, 1966. Varus, Varus, gib mir meine Legionen wieder. Quick on my feet, in those Novembers of my loneliness, I tossed a short pass, almost the instant I got the ball, right over the head of Beryl Terry before he knocked me cold. When I woke, I found myself crying out Latin conjugations and the new snow falling at the edge of a green field. Lemoyne Crone had caught the pass, while I lay unconscious and raging alone with the fire ghost of Catullus, the contemptuous Graces tossing garlands and hendecasyllabics over the head of Cornelius Nepos the mastodon, the huge volume. At the edges of Southeast Asia this afternoon, the quarterbacks and the lines are beginning to fall. A spring snow and terrified young men, quick on their feet, lob one another's skulls across wings of strange birds that are burning themselves alive.
Baker's going to be reading at 4, so maybe time for one short poem and then take a short break. Jeff, you're up.
Yeah, I got a short one. We got to stick with the football theme. This poem gets flung around a lot, even by sports writers who write about small high school football teams. Autumn begins in Martins Ferry, Ohio. In the Shreve High football stadium, I think of Polacks nursing long beers in Tiltonsville, and grave faces of Negroes in the blast furnace at Benwood, and the ruptured night watchmen of Wheeling Steel dreaming of heroes. All the proud fathers are ashamed to go home. Their women cluck like starved pullets, dying for love. Therefore, their sons grow suicidally beautiful at the beginning of October and gallop terribly against each other's bodies.